It's Saturday and it's cold as heck here in Missouri, and I'm just getting out to the garage. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm gonna turn my heater on here so it's gonna get loud. Got my Bang, got my Raising Cane Sweet Tea, probably the two greatest liquids in the world, for hydration, that is. And not real sure. I've kind of been doing some little piddly stuff here and there. I actually, let's see if I can get underneath here. Worked on the boost knuckle yesterday and didn't really film any of it. But I don't know if you can see, but there's a couple flex pipes in the exhaust there I had to add. And don't mind the plastic bag that melted on the exhaust at some point. But I had issues with the exhaust hanging down really low. I should have put flex pipes in it when I first built it, and I didn't. But anyways, the more I drove it, the exhaust kind of moved around more and more, and it actually had gotten to a point where it started sagging, and so it was driving me crazy because it was rubbing on stuff. Once it heat up, it would move and kind of bend and flex, and I decided I was going to put some flex pipes in it, so I did that last night, dropped it down, and just cut a couple 4-inch sections out of the exhaust, welded in some flex pipe, and that was it. So, like I said, I didn't record any of that. It was kind of difficult to do whenever you're laying underneath of it by yourself and trying to cut and hold cameras and all that stuff, so it just didn't work out for me. But I got some new tires on the truck the other day. I got some new tires on the truck in the front the other day. I put some Hoosiers on the front of it because I just went to a 17-inch front wheel and I had 15s on it. And I just felt like the 17s looked better, and then I bought a set of 17-inch tires for it, and they didn't look right. They were too small. The truck's got too much of a rake, so I ended up buying a set of brand new Hoosiers that were actually on another set of wheels, and I dismounted them and flopped the wheels and tires, and then sold the other wheels with my old tires on it, and then mounted the new Hoosiers on my new wheels. So got those all on. Not sure how well of a view you got of that. Shifters in it. Planning on hopefully trying to figure out a cage situation for the truck. We've got a couple races coming up. It's obviously, getting close to the end of January. We've actually got an import race in St. Louis, Missouri, I think March 24th. I'm not sure if we'll take the Civic or not. Maybe we will if it's ready by then. Really all I got to do is just tune the car. Got to put some new slicks on it. I got to get with M&H, try and get some new slicks for it, and needs a new seat belt and stuff because all that stuff's out of cert. So I don't know if I'll take the truck to that. It depends on if the car's ready, if the truck's ready. Maybe I'll just get a wild hair in my butt and take the truck out there and just make a couple shakedown passes in it, because I tried to make a couple passes this last year with it, and I took it out to a little 8-mile track, and it was terrible. The track sucks. And then we had Streetcar Takeover in Kansas City there at the end of the year, and I took it out and I just did testing there. Well, they had some weather issues and they had to try and cram it all in one day. It just didn't pan out. I only got like one pass out of the truck, and I had shifter problems, which is why I decided to say the heck with it, and I put that racing shifter in it. So I don't know what the truck's gonna run. I've got the new motor and stuff coming together for it, but I don't plan on putting that in, and hopefully until probably the middle of the season. It just kind of depends on how everything goes. And like I said, I mentioned in the last video, I think, I've got a couple things kind of in the works with the truck, and I'm not really going to mention anything about it because I don't know how set in stone a lot of this stuff is. So I don't want to get my hopes up, and I don't want to get your guys' hopes up, and then it fall through. So, but the truck's pretty well where it's going to be, at least until the middle of the part of the year. I wanted to take it out and get the cage done in the next month or so, because we got World of Wheels coming up, and I actually got to find some good weather to actually take the truck out to the chassis guy and have him look at it and see how easy or how much of a pain in the butt this thing's going to be to put a cage in it. Originally, I thought it was going to be fairly easy. I'm not so sure anymore. So that might turn into a big ordeal, and then might change some things. So, but yeah, so I don't really have anything to do with the truck today. I may mess with the Civic a little. I actually had crawl up underneath here. I ended up picking up a new full race traction bar from my buddy Josh over at Finishing Lines. I had which actually you can't see it, it's underneath that trash bag there. But I had a NRG one on it, and it was, I mean, I've had it on the car for 10 years, honestly, probably. And it's done fine, but he had this one laying around because he went to all spherical stuff in the front of his car. And I really like the fact that this had tow hooks on it. And then, you know, the radius arms and stuff were really, really bulky and stuff on it, which was good. And then they've actually got this other provision here to run a brace up to the motor, like up here. And it's just obviously not going to work because of the exhaust. So I think, you know, since I got this new shifter and everything kind of needs to be really, really rigid because there's no room for error with this shifter. So I've actually got looks like I believe is an axle seal leak. I got to try and fix that. Not sure what's up with that. I've never had an axle leak with this car. And but anyway, so I've got, let me see if I can find it real quick. There was this extra, oh, here, I'm getting crazy here. There was this extra brace here. Like I said, it was for the front up here, you know, so you could add another brace to the block. But I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm actually going to make one, you know, and use this back here. Actually, let me turn that. It'll be like this. But I think I'm going to take these, I'm going to cut these out flat, and then I'm probably going to weld this to the bottom part of this. And that way I can add like a lower trans brace here. You know, and the motor rotates counterclockwise, so you'll have, the motor will want to give and push back. So hopefully adding this will actually keep it a little more rigid and keep it from wanting to, you know, move around anymore. It's got solid mounts in it, but anything you can add to it, a lot of guys will add like a lower motor plate and stuff like that. But I didn't feel like spending a couple $100 and then having to try and cut some stuff up and making something work. So I'm just going to attempt to make this work. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these cut. I'll get this bolted up on the trans here. It'll take, you know, it'll bolt up pretty much next to that scatter shield there. And then I'll have to clean this up, wire brush a bunch of this up because there's a bunch of residue and stuff from many of years of oil leaks and such underneath the car, and I've never pressure washed the bottom side of this thing. But anyways, I'll get this cleaned up and then I'll go ahead and weld that up on there. And then I'll have to make sure that my belly pan will actually still fit underneath the car. And then I've got to add another bracket for the radiator and just a couple other miscellaneous things to the bottom of this. So I guess I'll get these cut and then we'll start moving forward with trying to add this brace to it. So basically I'm going to weld these to the bottom of the subframe there. And then, you know, more or less that's just going to add kind of a lower brace to keep the motor from wanting to rock and push back. You know, and the mounts up top are solid. You know, but I think this will help too. You've got one, obviously that one there pretty much holds all the torque on the motor. And then you've obviously got your engine side and then your trans side, but those are more or less, I mean, obviously they take a little bit of the shock from the motor and the rotation that it turns when it torques, but I think this will help kind of add some rigidity to the way the motor moves around and stuff. So, ooh, finally the heat went off. I got to get a different bolt for this because obviously that's pretty small. You can't fit anything up in there, so I'm gonna have to get like an Allen headed bolt to put in there, and then I'll go through and get this all set up here, and I'll get it tacked. Once I get that tacked up on the car, then I'm gonna grab my belly pan there, and I'm gonna make sure the belly pan will fit and clear everything, which it should, because really nothing sits any lower than this, so all that should obviously fit underneath the belly pan there. And then I've got to change the brackets out here, there. I can bolt this up, more or less kind of set it how I want it, and then I've actually got to add a bracket to the trans brake or the traction bar for the radiator. But I basically just weld a bracket on it, and then it holds on to one of the lower where the factory fan would bolt to. So anyways, I'll get this all cleaned up, get the welder out, and I'm just gonna make it up on there. I gotta let the car back down and disconnect the Motec and the battery. I don't want to fry anything, so I know the Motecs are sensitive, or ECUs in general are sensitive with welding and stuff, so you gotta be careful with that. But anyways, I'm gonna get this down, get that all unplugged, and then I'll get this welded up. Alright, so don't mind my crappy weld job here. This isn't my MIG welder. I borrowed it from a friend, and apparently it acts funny whenever you try and weld above your head. But anyways, I got this piece added on here. I've got this I'm adjusted, and so now I've got this kind of lower trans brace all fabbed up and ready to go. And like I said, hopefully this will keep the bottom of the tranny from moving, you know, when the motor torques, and it will help keep any issues that I may have with the motor moving and, you know, messing up that shifter, because that shifter is really temperamental from what everybody says. So hopefully this will help, along with the solid engine mounts. I may add another brace, you know, something like this somewhere, but that should do the trick. And now I'll get to adding the radius arms in, getting those brackets changed out to the right ones, and then I'll start making figuring out where the radiator is going to sit and making a bracket so I can weld that up. And then I've actually got to weld a bracket off the bottom of this for the intercooler, because that's part of the intercooler mount that I had off the other track bar. So anyways, let's get this get these changed out, get these bolted in. Hey guys, welcome to the garage today. I'm kind of in the middle of a couple different videos, and I'm waiting on stuff here and there, and kind of wandering from project to project. I have a tendency to do that. I'll start working on one, and then I'll think about something on the other, and then I stop working on that one and go to a different one. And hey, I'm always all over the place. But I brought the Bel Air in, and I've got some stuff I want to do to it before spring gets here. Just try and get it a little bit more drivable. The car doesn't have any interior or anything in it, and I haven't really shown anything of this car yet. It's a 1960 Bel Air. Bought it for my girlfriend, so she's got something to cruise around in, just like I got the boost knuckle. So there's plans. I don't know that I've mentioned it yet, but there are plans. I'm taking the LSA 5.3 out of this and putting it in the Bel Air when I get around to doing the turbo setup for the truck. The Bel Air currently has this big thing in it. I believe it's the original engine for this car. I'm pretty certain it is, judging by the state of the car and kind of how everything's aged together. But yeah, it runs and drives great. It's been a good little motor, but it's got a couple little leaks on the exhaust manifold and stuff like that. But my overall goal is maybe get it running and driving a little better. Get some of the suspension stuff figured out. It needs new bushings in the upper control arms on both sides. The brakes need to be gone through. I actually want to, it's got drum brakes all the way around, so I'm actually going to try and convert the front to disc. And I plan on cleaning up the engine bay and stuff, but that probably won't happen until I get ready to put this motor in it. But you know, I'm going to leave the patina on the outside of the car, and no sense in having, you know, a $50,000 fancy shiny car when you don't want to drive it and you're afraid of scratching it and stuff. So I just leave the natural patina and just enjoy it. But as far as like suspension and stuff goes, I like everything to be solid and sound. That's kind of like with the boost knuckle when I redid it. I mean, everything underneath this truck is brand new. I mean, you can't tell it looking from the outside, but there isn't an old part underneath this truck. It's all been replaced. So anyways, the Bel Air is going to be kind of the same way. But as far as the interior goes, it's pretty roached. The floor's actually really solid in it. It's just got a little bit of surface rust on it. I'm going to go through, I think somebody's wire wheeled it before. I'm going to go through and, oh, door's locked. I'm going to wire brush everything, clean everything up, all soap and water, and wash it all. And then plug some holes. And then I'm actually going to POR 15 the whole floor. And I'll probably end up doing the trunk as well. I've got an actual repair I got to do in the trunk. There's a little hole where the jack used to go for the car. But yeah, so I'll get the floor POR 15 and cleaned up, and then I'm gonna put sound deadening down on it, which I don't know if you can see it, but I've got it back there in the back seat. Got a bunch of sound deadening I'm gonna put down, and then I'm gonna put a carpet down and slowly just start getting the interior done. I think I'm gonna stick with this original green color. I like it. Most people don't, but you know, I may add some color to it, just green and lighter green. I'll maybe add some like some silver piping or something in the seat or something along those lines. I'm not real sure yet, and I'm uncertain of what color carpet I want to put in it. I may try and do like a dark gray or something. I think you can actually get the green carpet, but I don't know how well it'll match unless I have somebody do all the interior at once, and I'm not sure that's going to happen because it's so expensive. I'll probably actually try and do it piece by piece, so that might kind of screw me over a little bit. But in the end, this is just a cruiser, just something to get in on the weekend and drive it to dinner and just, you know, take on road trips. And I go back home and see my folks. It's a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. I'll just hop in this thing and take it on down the road and just try and enjoy it. But anyways, I think I'm going to get the floors vacuumed out, get the seats out of it, and then start working on getting it cleaned up, wire brushed, and ready for POR 15. Okay, so yet again I got scatterbrained and went off in a totally different direction with where I was trying to go. You saw me talk about the boost knuckle, and the next thing you know, I was working on the Civic, and then next thing you know, I got Bel Air in the garage, and I was so all over the place. But anyways, I got started on cleaning up the trunk, at least in the Bel Air. It had a bunch of junk and stuff in it, and so I got it all vacuumed out, got it ready. I'm gonna go through and I'll wire brush everything, clean up the floor pan. There's a couple little pinholes here and here, you know, and a couple little spots, mostly just where dirt and water would lay. And I had mentioned the one spot, let me get over here, and it's where I believe the old jack had used to sit, and I'm gonna more than likely probably just cut that out, weld in a new section there, and then just seam seal it in. And you know, since this isn't a show car, it's not, you know, anything ridiculous. I think what I'm gonna end up doing, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna wire wheel all this. I'm gonna clean everything up, get it ready for some POR 15. And I think what I'm going to do is, after I POR 15 everything, I think I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put some seam sealer. I mean, as ghetto as that is, I'm going to put some seam sealer, probably spread some seam sealer across some of these holes just to fill them up so they don't get any dirt and stuff up in them. And then, I don't know if I'll put sound deadening on top of all this, just to, because, you know, this old trunk gets pretty noisy and rattly, so I'll maybe help try and keep some of the road noise down from here into the car. So I may end up trying to do that, but I am planning on buying all the new pieces, the side panels and the new flooring and stuff for it to cover all that up, so you won't see any of that anyways. But I think that's kind of the direction I'm going to go with the trunk. But as of that, I think that's going to do it for this video. I'm not sure where I'm going with it next. Like I said, I'm going to probably try and work on cleaning up the floor and stuff inside of it, getting it ready for POR 15. I didn't end up going and finishing up putting the radius arms in the Civic or any of that yet, or the brackets for the radiator or the intercooler, but I did get that in, which you just saw. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video off, and that's pretty much gonna do it. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Like I said, keep following us on Instagram, and we will see you guys later.